Great. Well, hi. Thanks for talking to me again. Appreciate it.
Yeah,
Love the
hi, good to see
show.
you.
Yeah, good to see you again. So the first thing I want to talk about is obviously Ben's relationship with Hannah. Now, I know obviously from an audience point of view, a lot of times it's different, but part of the story has been that, like for Addison, he was gone years, but for Ben, it was days and that. But it still seems like it has not been that long since all of that happened. Do you personally feel that it's kind of early for him to, have fallen in love with Hannah? Like, how do you sort of, I guess, play that? And is it hard also from an acting standpoint to get kind of that chemistry without having a lot of time, for their backstory?
Um, the way that I made sense of it, as far as Ben's journey goes, and as far as just from experience myself, sometimes you feel a connection to a person immediately. You meet them and you go, and I don't know how much folks believe in this stuff, but like in past lives, like we must have known each other in a different life. But in this relationship to this world of the reality of quantum leap and what's possible, I think Ben believes that there is a possibility that we're connected in a different way than in this metaphysical state. And so he meets Hannah and goes, there's something about this person. You're talking about yo-yos and centrifugal force and like what, okay, there's, this is strange, but the fact that we keep running into each other, I think Ben has to believe that something else is conspiring to bring these two together. And I think Addison's character is actually the first to point it out. I know why the accelerator keeps bringing them together is because they're in love, and I think she realizes it before we do, and we just continue to connect and continue to connect, and we're escaping death at every turn. And I don't know if you've had a near death experience, but you remember everything about that moment, and the person that you were in there with, you have a story forever that you're bound by. And when these things continue to happen and you continue to fall in love in the backscape of different time periods where the lens flares are happening, I think it's very easy to believe that you're seeing each other through these starry eyes as well. And so it made sense to me. It made sense to Ben. And as far as connecting with someone like Eliza goes, she's done 100 episodes of her own show. She's such a pro. For me, it was I was learning a lot from Eliza as we were going through this too. And when you have somebody who is attuned to that way to people's feelings and everything around, we're both very we have heightened senses about our surroundings as well, and so we're looking at each other's micro reactions and on and offset. You create that sort of chemistry in a matter of moments, and I think, and also during the chemistry read too. That's essentially what it's there for, and it's you have to build chemistry in just moments. So by the time we found ourselves on set, we sort of knew the task at hand, and we knew that we had to play this relationship out throughout the course of the season. So how to disseminate the love that we're going to share with the audience was another thing that wasn't spoken about, but I feel like we just sort of knew. And we also had great, directors and producers and writers that were constantly watching what we were doing too. So yeah, I hope that answers your
No,
question.
yeah, definitely interesting. Now, obviously, Ben wants to tell her, and it was kind of he finally did, but wanted to tell her about her husband just because of the person he is, not because of their circumstances aren't, the best or whatever. But now, with everything that's going on, I'm just curious, what do you think for Ben? Like, how can he have a happy ending with Hannah? Is it doomed? I mean, is there a way that they can be okay, or is he just happy with what the time he gets? Just sort of talk about that.
I don't know. I think then one of his strengths and weaknesses is his optimism. So I think in his perfect world, everything could work out all the time for everybody. And I think his well-being is actually the least of his concerns. And I think I don't know if he's even had enough time to really sit down and think about whether this could be a permanent thing. But all I can tell you is Ben is a reactive person, and he is constantly just trying to hold all ends of tethered ropes together, and he wants to be the center knot. And you know, for story, it's great that all these ends pull apart and his body ends up exploding. Right? It's like, oh my God, can't possibly bear the weight
I
of
feel like
everything.
it.
But you know, I think he has to believe that that it can work out. Otherwise, why try?
True. But now I want to ask you about the flip side of it with Addison. If, regardless of how this happens, if let's just, hypothesize it doesn't work out with Hannah, or, something happens and he changes his mind, whatever, do you think he would be ready to go back with Addison? I mean, obviously Tom's out of the picture, it seems like, but I mean, they've both changed a lot. So I'm not even sure if he necessarily, I mean, I feel he still loves both of them, but I'm just kind of curious, like, how do you think that could potentially play out in that sense?
Yeah, what's really cool about this love relationship is that it's very unorthodox, right? And it's non-linear. There's not a very black and white answer to like I love you and I don't love you and I can love you and I can love you. It's sort of it's sort of because also the given circumstance is so wide open as well. You he basically lost consciousness for 3 years to everybody else. He was gone for 3 years to everybody else, and he's just playing catch up. He hasn't even probably asked about what happened to Jan or Ian in those years. You know, he's just catching up to the just the sprinkles that he's getting of Addison's life. And every now and again, oh, did you know this happened at headquarters? Like, oh, how can I help that? But that's insane. I don't know. I didn't know that happened. So I think to fall to believe what we believe in a traditional love relationship would be a trap in this sort of situation. And I think they all three of them have an immense capability to love beyond that. So to answer your question, I think there is always hope for Ben and Addison. And what came before their love relationship was a deep friendship. And when two people know each other in that way, I feel like it's like seeing an ex, and you're like, oh, I remember what this felt like. I can't do it. If I sit in this room with you for more than 10 minutes, we're probably going to end up falling in love again. So I'm probably going to see myself out. But that the possibilities are always there.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. Now it says I have not seen 212 yet. They haven't sent the screeners, but it does say in the log line that Hannah's in it and everything. Can you tease a bit sort of about what's to come? I guess with Hannah and Addison too, just sort of what's with the relationship, what's to come, and what are you allowed to say, if anything?
Not allowed to say much. And truthfully, I don't want to say much at all. And that is just purely out of respect for our fans and for everyone that's been watching since day one, since day -1, the original series. I want, I'm so, I am just so elated and fulfilled with the way these last two episodes turned out that I would just want for our fans to watch and absorb and just experience in real time with no prior information or anything.
Well, this information maybe you can give me that isn't quite spoilery, but I just wanted to ask. It says that you play a firefighter and there's a Tyrion phono. That's the little log line.
Yeah,
What was that like? Because I'm assuming that there's a lot of action and special effects and that kind of thing in there. So can you just sort of talk a little bit about that part of the episode?
it was so hot. It
It was
was so
so hot.
yeah, like
I figured
much
that.
respect to everybody on the cast of Chicago Fire and every show and movie that came before, because those turncoats, it's like another 30 pounds of just equipment. And also that helmet, I think I was drenched for 2 weeks straight in my own sweat. It was very hot. But that's it. Yeah, but being in that place, you know, one of the my dreams as a in my preschool graduation, I said there's a recording where I say my dream when I grow up is to become a firefighter, and seeing myself in the turncoats and the helmet, and while I was, you know, in getting changed, I was like, this is insane. This is really just one of the coolest things about this job is just a wish fulfillment of every wish that I've had growing up as a kid. But this one was so specific. I wanted this. But yeah, and also to pay homage to the Towering Inferno, and that's one of the great bits about this show is that we get to continually do that. it was just very cool. It was a very cool world that Ben and Derek created, and I was happy to live in it.
Well, I just really quick, we're out of time, but I just wanted to ask you, since you said that, is there like a time period you really want to get to go to that your young self would love to get to, to play, I guess, to explore on the show?
It's wild because we've already kind of done it
You've
all.
done everything.
One big one was a Western. And we did that, we
Yeah,
established that so early on in the first season, but I love the early 2000s. I know that's not far off in history, but I think that's a fun time
go
to
back to it.
revisit as an adult because I just it was like Y2K. It was so wild what Y2K would have been, and I just wanted to get some perspective as an adult what that might feel like. But
Oh,
yeah.
okay. Interesting. Not what I expected, but interesting. All right. Well, thank you for your time. I appreciate it. Looking forward to
Yeah.
seeing the last two. So,
Oh, I look forward to you seeing it too.
okay,
Very
great.
proud of
Thanks
it.
so much. Have a good rest of your day.
You too.